Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us for THV 11 News at noon. I'm Jurnee Taylor, and we begin today with a THV 11 weather impact alert as we brace for possible severe weather later this week. For more on that, we turn to meteorologist Nathan Scott for a look at the latest. Nathan?
Good afternoon, Jurnee. Enjoy today, enjoy tomorrow, but then going into Wednesday, we already have the chance of strong to severe thunderstorms entering once again here in Arkansas. Here's the latest from the Storm Prediction Center. We could have strong, possibly severe thunderstorms late tomorrow night, early Wednesday morning, but that chance really ramps up 3 out of 5 for most of Arkansas on Wednesday. And the chance continues to stick around for Thursday. But it's not just severe weather we're concerned about, it's also heavy rainfall. Look at your flood risk. It is a slight to moderate Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And this is all because we are going to see a frontal boundary that's going to slam on the brakes and just a lot of moisture arriving from the Gulf, providing us with torrential downpours at times. We had some nasty storms into north central Arkansas and northeast Arkansas yesterday, mainly hailers. Look at all the hail reports and the size of the hail. 3-inch size hail in Jackson County, pretty close to that in Fulton County. That's tennis ball to baseball size hail. That front that came through yesterday brought us in some cooler temperatures, upper 50s to lower 60s, and highs today we're topping out right around 70 degrees. Tonight it will be much cooler. Temperatures will drop down into the 40s, maybe some upper 30s in Clinton. I'll have more on that severe weather potential because we have issued that THV 11 weather impact alert on your Wednesday coming up.
Well, believe it or not, today marks 2 years since the March 31st, 2023 tornado that tore through West Little Rock and continued over the river to North Little Rock, Sherwood, and Jacksonville. Incredibly, no one lost their lives that day, but some areas will never be the same. Little Rock's Fire Station 9 took a direct hit on March 31st, 2023, leaving the department with no choice but to rebuild. Just this morning, crews broke ground on the new building. The assistant fire chief says they've put a lot of thought into the design and why they need to include a safe room this time.
I'm not familiar when the standard was initiated. I do know that the last 2 fire stations we built, Station 23 and 24 both, have had tornado shelters integrated into the design and construction of the building. So there was no question we were going to do it in this building as well.
Tonight on THV 11 News at 5, we'll have more on what's next for the fire station and how people in Little Rock and across the state are preparing for future storms. The death toll from that devastating earthquake in Southeast Asia now stands at more than 1,700 people, with hundreds still missing. Some of the worst devastation is near the Mandalay region, where temples and mosques filled with worshipers were reduced to rubble, and multiple bridges have collapsed. Over the weekend, the United States pledged $2 million in humanitarian aid, joining other countries, including China, India, and the UK. Now, there have been more close calls at Washington's Reagan National Airport. On Friday, a military jet got close to a departing Delta flight, setting off an alarm in the cockpit. Chris Van Cleve has an update.
This morning, the FAA is investigating what happened at Washington's Reagan National Airport Friday. Delta Flight 2983 had just taken off from Minneapolis with 136 aboard when its pilots got a collision avoidance alert calling for evasive maneuvers. The reason? 4 Air Force T-38 jets were streaking towards a flyover at Arlington National Cemetery at about 350 miles an hour.
Was there an actual aircraft about 500 feet below us as we came off of DCA? That's fine, I need to be affirmative.
At their closest point, the planes were about 6,000 feet apart horizontally and vertically separated by about 275 feet.
Once again, we have a conflict between a military aircraft and a civilian airliner, and that's not acceptable.
Just a day earlier, acting FAA Administrator Chris Rushello insisted flying was safe, but acknowledged there were so many close calls between airliners and helicopters, often from the military, at DCA over the last 13 years. The FAA should have seen the danger before January's mid-air collision killed 67 people.
Something was missed at the DCA crash. I take that seriously. I take that upon myself.
NTSB Chair Jennifer Homendy.
I wouldn't just put that on the FAA. I'd also put that on the Army.
Saturday, as this United flight with 131 on board was landing at DCA, pilots told air traffic control they may have hit a kite. The 737 landed safely and was undamaged. Chris Van Cleve, CBS News.
Well, state lawmakers reconvened at the state capitol this morning after spring break, and among the many bills on their agenda is a bill that could reshape the towing industry. Current state law says a vehicle towed without consent can be held by the tow company with additional fees. That, however, could change. If passed, a new bill would force vehicles to be released even if the person hasn't paid. Tim Moody with J Hood Towing and Recovery explains the terminology.
A non-consent tow is if somebody wrecks on the side of the highway, or if you're at an apartment complex and you leave your old abandoned vehicle there, we go out and get it. That's called non-consent towing.
Well, Moody goes on to say if the bill becomes law, towing companies would have no choice but not to respond to non-consent tows.
Once we pay to have it dumped, that's another $2,000 or $3,000 on top of the bill, and they're wanting them to be able to come and get their truck and trailer out of here with no means of paying anybody.
The bill is currently being heard in the Senate Transportation Committee. Now, we're also tracking a few more important bills this week. Senate Bill 520 aims to get rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, in local government. House Bill 1684 would ensure parents have access to items like textbooks and lesson plans so they know what their child is learning. It would also allow them to take their child out of class if material conflicts with their religious or moral beliefs. And also bills aimed at high school sports, specifically focused on transfer and recruiting roles. Wall Street opened lower today ahead of President Trump's new tariffs, which take effect this week, including a 25% import tax on most foreign-made vehicles and auto parts. Natalie Brand has the latest from the White House.
Some shoppers spent the weekend test driving cars, looking for a deal before a 25% tariff on foreign vehicles and auto parts takes effect later this week.
This is just creating confusion and apprehension in the market, and that's not good for our industry.
The Trump administration maintains tariffs will spur manufacturing at home, bringing more auto jobs back to the U.S. Sean Fain, president of the United Auto Workers Union, praised the move.
There is plenty of opportunity for these companies to do the right thing and bring work back here overnight, just as quick as they shipped it out of here.
The planned auto tariffs are in addition to reciprocal tariffs that President Trump is set to announce Wednesday on countries that impose duties on U.S. exports.
A new CBS News poll finds most Americans believe the president is focused too much on tariffs, not enough on lowering prices. In the poll, only around a quarter of Americans say the president's policies are making them financially better off. The survey also shows the president's approval rating at 50% as he talks about a third term, which is currently barred by the Constitution.
I have had more people say, please run again. I said, we have a long way to go before we even think about that.
The 22nd Amendment, added in 1951, prohibits a president from serving more than 2 terms. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
Well, as people continue to rebuild their lives after recent tornadoes, a 10-year-old is using her creativity to give others a lift. Plus, a small country that's always had a dream of having their own soccer team is now finally getting its chance in Northwest Arkansas.
And we've got lots of clear skies out there, lots of sunshine, beautiful day lined up, although the pollen's a little bit wicked at this time. However, the weather could turn wicked again going into Wednesday. It's a THV 11 weather impact alert. I'll let you know what details you need to know coming up.